Happy Sunday. So we're ready to do another cutie already. Well, we had one less week in January than normal. So we'll be doing another cutie tonight. We're going to start another one. This will be the March one. And I think it'll be really fun. This one I had never made. So this one's made with a disappearing 9 patch. And I've never done a disappearing 9 patch before. And I was like, oh, well, this is not so hard. So it was really fun. It was a fun one to do. And there's a couple of weird things in it. So I'll talk about it when we get going here. So hopefully everybody's been having a good week. Hi, everybody. So don't forget, there's a couple things I wanted to tell you. Don't forget, after the class, if you go back to the Facebook group, there's a little link in the video that you can click. And if you tell Facebook it's okay for me to see your names through StreamYard, then it helps me because I can't always see everybody's names. So if you allow it, if you tell them it's okay, then they'll do that. And the other thing is, if you haven't gone to YouTube, and I have people watch me on YouTube all the time. If you haven't gone to YouTube and subscribed to my channel, that helps me out with YouTube. So it's Sew Along with Jan. Just go to youtube.com, search for Sew Along with Jan, and then you can go subscribe to that. So that way, that helps me out with YouTube. So it's been kind of fun. YouTube helps a lot with getting everything organized so that you can find the videos so much easier. So how is everybody today? All kinds of people coming in. Okay. Oh, I got all kinds of people. I can see people's names over on Facebook. So, but if you think about it, go click that little link and it says just, it's okay for StreamYard to see your name. And it's just me that's seeing them. So, but it's nice that if I can see your name through StreamYard also, because the screen's bigger over here, I can read it easier. So, okay. So remember, if you want to get entered to win the prize at the end of class, you need to comment. Okay. So make sure you're commenting. And this week's prize is going to be a pillow cover, this welcome pillow. Okay. And I'm not going to put the pillow form in it because it'd be easier to mail this way if I have to mail it. Okay. And just remember, I won't be mailing outside of the country. I'll mail it in the United States. But anyway, so this fits a 12 by 16. It's a very common size, and I get my pillow forms usually at Hobby Lobby, or you can just make one. And it's a 12 by 16 pillow. So this is what you'll win this week. So remember to comment. You have to comment in order to get entered to win. Okay. So I'm going to lay it over here. Don't let me freak out when I can't find it later. So gets it out of the way. All right. Let me turn off the banner here real quick so I won't forget it. And I also wanted to tell you show you the stuff that's coming up. So next week, we're going to be working on the second half of the cutie. We're going to do the embroidery next week on the March Cutie. And then the following week, we're going to make a cutting and ironing folio. Okay, so this is the cutting and ironing folio. And it has like little Velcro closures. Well, there's Velcro dots on here to hold the little rotary cutter on. Okay. And then there's little Velcro dots in here to hold it shut. And then it opens up, and then there's a little cutting pad and a little ironing mat in there. So we're going to make this. We're going to make this with the scan and cut. If you don't have a scan and cut, you can cut the chipboard with like a X-Acto knife or a box knife. So if you don't have a scan and cut, it does work really well with the scan and cut. So that's what we'll be using for the class. So, and then I put up on the group, I put up on the group the supply list. So, you need some paper, like some scrapbooking paper, and we're going to make this little ironing pad. So you need some like Insulbrite and some of that little ironing fabric. And then this is a little mat, and the rotary cutter. Those are from Dollar Tree. So I went to the Dollar Tree and they were $1.25 for the little things. Okay, so that's the first one I made. Then I made a new one the other day. I'm going to lay this up here too. So I made another one. I wanted to make it out of a different color of fabric or of paper. So this one's pretty too. So it's pink and it has kind of a purpley blue interior. So this is the second one I made. Yeah, I bought these all in the Iowa City area, and they had the little rotary cutters, and you can get these little Velcro dots they often have at the dollar store. I got these at the dollar store. And then the mat, the cutting mat, and then this we're going to make. Okay. And then chipboard. A lot of people have been asking me what chipboard is. Chipboard is kind of like, the cardboard that's on the back of a notepad, that kind of thick, dense. It's not corrugated. It's that thicker, denser board. And you could even take a cereal box and cut it up and like glue a couple layers together because it's not quite heavy enough, but you can do stuff like that. I bought chipboard online and I got it at a place called officesupply.com. Yeah, it's like cereal box cardboard. And then with that though, you'll probably need to cut it and then glue a couple pieces together because it's not going to be quite heavy enough by itself, but that's works fine. So if you don't have chipboard, or if you don't want to buy cardboard, if you look around your house, you may find something that you have at home. So I just bought some chipboard, but I bought it at officesupply.com is the name of the place I got it. And it's called Graphics, Grafix, I think, chipboard. And you can get it in 8.5 by 11 and 12 by 12. So that's kind of the little plug for that. And then the other thing, the last week of the month, we're going to have a software class and we're going to make one of the little, second here, I got to reach it. We're going to make another one of our little 6x6. I wanted something for St. Patty's Day. So we're going to make another one of our little 6x6 mini quilts in the software. And I just made this little Irish blessing to hang in my little frame. I just love these. And I didn't have anything. The first one I had for like spring. Regular cardboard, the corrugated cardboard, no, it's going to be too soft. So you need to have something that's denser than that. Okay. And they have like chipboard like it. That's okay, Shannon, that you don't have the software. You can watch if you want. But I also have this is up on the group and I just put it up there. But there's a link to the Dropbox and then I've got a PES file. So then you can just sew it. If you don't have the software, that's okay. You can still sew it though. And we've done quite a few of these. So at that class, we'll talk about it. I made sure that I had a PES file in every one of these that was done in the software so that those of you who don't have software can still sew them out and put them on these little frames. So I love these. And this was a free design. Isn't that pretty with the shamrocks? Actually, it's, shamrocks. They only have 3 leaves. They're not 4-leaf clovers. Okay. So anyway, that's going to be the last week of February. And then, of course, the first 2 weeks in March, we'll be back to making another cutie. So we're kind of caught up for a few weeks here. All right. So today we're going to make this cutie. So this is the cutie for March, and it's got the little kites on it. Okay. And this is a disappearing night patch. So when I first looked at this one, I thought, oh my gosh, those inner blocks, what the heck? And it's so super easy because all it is a 9 patch cut in half and then stuck back together in any way you want. Okay. So it's not a hard block at all. It looks really complicated, but I'll show you how to do it. It's very easy. Okay. All right. So there's what we're working on tonight. I'm going to put this behind me on the chair, because we'll need to look at it again. Okay. So I'm going to switch my camera over. Is everybody ready to do another cutie? So Jan's been sewing and unsewing a lot today. I had a little trouble with the blocks. I'll show you that as I go. It's like, whoops. So anyway, sometimes things happen. I make a lot of mistakes when I'm sewing. All right, let me switch my microphone. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the fabric here first, okay? So I got all my fabrics laid out here. And there's one change I would tell you. If you have not cut out your this one yet, I would tell you to change one thing for the kites. If you've already cut, it will work, which I have already cut. So I'll explain that here in a second. Okay, so you need 5 fabrics that you're going to cut, and you need fat 8s. Okay, that's the first thing. And so what I have here is I have a teal, a yellow, a blue, a red, and a peach. So here's my 5 fabrics. Okay, so you're going to need those, and then you need a background, which I did in the white. Okay, and then you need an inner border and binding, and I also made my inner border and binding, but I also made my backing the same color, so I used the black and white polka dots. Okay, and then this is my binding, and then here's my backing. I just have a yard of backing, so I have it just still wrapped up here. I haven't gotten to that point yet. So I use the black and white polka dots. And then you need some ribbon. So there's going to be some little ribbons, some little bows on the tails of the kites. Okay. So when it says, what it says first is you're going to cut out, and I have a few of these blocks already sewn up, so you don't have to sit here and watch me sew 9 patches together. But you need to cut out 8 2.5-inch squares of each one of these 5 colors. So that's the first thing. Okay. The second part is the part that if you have not already cut, I would tell you to do it differently. The next section says to cut out a 2.5-inch square and a 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangle for the kites. And I had already cut mine, and when I got to embroidering my first one, they really aren't big enough. So what I would tell you to do is to cut out, instead of the second section right here, I don't know if you can see it right in here, okay, where it tells you to do that, from like cut 2.5 by 2.5 and 2.5-inch squares and 2.5 by 4-inch rectangles out of 2 different fabrics. Okay. And what I ended up doing was I had cut mine out of all 5 because I wasn't sure what color I wanted my kites. So you don't have to do that. But instead of those measurements, I would tell you to use for the kites to make them 4.5 by 6 and do 2 of each of the colors you want for your kites, because what that means is that when they did this as see, this is the sizes for the machine applique. Like if you were driving around it with your sewing machine, these worked really well. I made these work, so I'll show you how I made them work. If you've already got them cut, just don't worry about it. I made them work, and I'll show. I don't have any more of this fabric, so I'm not going to recut mine. But it would be easier if it was 4.5 by 6 for each one of these, because this sews at the same time as this little piece. So like this was the piece for the bigger one, and this is the piece for the smaller one on the regular sewing version. So I would tell you to cut them 4.5 by 6 so that you can cover this whole area with one piece of fabric. So hopefully that makes sense. And then, so I used on this one, I used my blue and my red and my yellow and a peachy color, but I may use something different for the next one. But you can get, if you've already cut these, it's okay. We'll make them work, and I'll show you how I made them work when I get to the embroidery next week. Okay, because I don't have enough fabric to cut any of these out again, and they were already cut. So that is the way we'll do it. It'll work just fine. Okay, and then you also need, and turn this over, you also need your white square. You cut your square. Oh, the ones who asked that, Lynn, the section in the center here where it says from any 2 of the fabrics cut 2.5 and 2.5 by 4s, those are for the kites. And if you cut them instead 4.5 by 6, it will cover the whole center, if that makes sense. That way, these
sizes were for the machine that, you know, like you driving around it yourself, and they're a little small, but they will work. So if you've already cut them, it's fine. We can make them work next week. Okay. Because I'm going to have to make mine work because they're already cut. Okay. And then you need to cut out your white square 14 inches. Okay. And then remember, shape flex on the back of those squares before you do the cutting. And then you cut them, you know, corner to corner and make 4 triangles for the corners of the cutie. All right. And then you needed your strips for your, there's 1.5 by 11-inch strips and 1.5 by 13-inch strips for the borders. Yes, Tara, you need 8. So you need like two 4.5 by 6s of the red and 2 of the blue. And then you need, like I had 2 peach and 2 yellow. So yes, 8. And if you have enough fabric, do it that way. If you've already cut, if they're like this, they'll still work, but it's just a little harder. Okay. Makes it a little harder to do the embroidery, but it's not impossible. Okay. Then we have our binding. I cut my binding at 2 1/4 inches. Okay. And I've got my backing. The backing, I cut 28 inches square. So if you watch the quilting video, so the quilting video, if you need to go back and look at it again to do the next quilting, it is on YouTube under Sew Along with Jan, and then it's under the playlist Kimberbell Cuties. Okay, so you can find it there, or it'll be down the feed a little ways on Sew Along with Jan on Facebook. So whichever's easier for you to find it, if you need to go back and watch it again while you're doing this. Okay, so the way I did this, now I cut out, I already sewed up some of these because you don't need to watch me make all these 9 patches. So give me a second, I just got to get rid of some of these little pieces of fabric. Okay, so what I did, and this worked for me. I don't know if this will work for you, but this is the way I did it. Oh, and then I forgot, you also have to have of those same colors here. I forgot at the bottom here of the first page on page 7, it says something about 4 9 1/4 by 2 1/2. These are the ones that are for the border. So here's my 9 1/4 by 2 1/2 inch pieces, and I've already sewed them together, so just so you didn't have to watch me sew all these little pieces together. Okay, so that's the other pieces. Now this one has different colors than the first one I did, so that's why Jan had to sew all the blocks over again today, because I had them sewn like my original ones, and then I would have had the wrong color cornerstones. So anyway, that's the way it worked today. All right, so we're on page 8. So on page 8, what I did, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to organize our 9 patches. And so what I did is I just picked one of the colors that I wanted to be in the corners of my table topper to be the center of my 9 patch. So that way there's 4 of those to go on the corners. Okay, now you notice that I had different ones here because I had different fabric for this one. I didn't have quite enough of that peach, so I had to use 2 peaches. Okay, so I picked my peach because I want the peach on the corners. So there's 4 of those left somewhere. I'm not sure exactly. Oh, I got them sewn on already. So there's 4 extras of those because we're going to make 4 9 patches. And then I took all the rest of them and I just kind of laid them down in order of just whatever. I just laid them down in order and then just repeated that order. And I did it 4 times. So I had a little pile of my little 2 1/2 inch squares over here and just laid them down, and I'm going to sew them together. Okay, now I've already sewn some of them together and cut them. So here's the other ones that I've already done, and then we'll put these together in a minute. Okay. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. So I just took all of my squares. We're going to make 4 9 patches, and 4 of these, the center one, are going to be your corner blocks. So pick out whatever color you want your corner block to be. Okay, to make that the center of your 9 patch. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do then, we're just going to sew these together. I think a lot of you have already done 9 patches before. They're real easy. I have to find some good place to lay all these fabrics though. Let me lay them up here, I think. Okay, and I'm going to lay this back here so I won't drop it on the floor. Get it all cat hair. All right. Yeah, aren't they pretty? Well, you know what? These are all fabrics I had in stock. I had all of these at home. These are just like fat quarters and scraps and everything. So I just have been using what I've had. So I've been trying, that was my goal with these, is to use up some fabric. So that's what I've been doing. All right. So I'm going to take my first square of my first row. There's 3 rows and a 9 patch of 3 blocks. So I'm just going to take these. I have my machine set on Q02 because I am going to use my 1/4 inch piecing stitch with my J-foot. Okay. I'm going to line that up on the edge of my fabric, drop my needle, and we're going to sew the first 2 squares together. So I imagine a lot of you have done 9 patches before. If you piece a little bit, this is a real basic, easy, good starter block. Okay. And then we're going to do the next one over here. So we're going to get this one. So again, I'm using Q02. If you like to use a piecing foot, by all means, use whatever's comfortable for you. I like the Q02 because I don't like to have to take the foot off. Okay. So there's my first row. Okay. So I've got my first row right here. Now I'm going to do the second row. So I'm just going to lay this up here so I remember what order I had them in. I'm going to lay this one here. Here's my center. So we'll do the second row. Okay. Do this one. You have 4 9 patches, Terry. So I've already done here's my other 9 patches right here, but I've already cut them. So that way you didn't have to sit here and watch me make all these 9 patches. So when I cut these, you'll understand exactly what it is. Okay. All right. So here's the third one for the second row. So I just laid them out and made them all the same and just cut them, and then we're going to cut them in half. And that's what makes the disappearing 9 patch, because you cut them, you make a 9 patch and then you cut it in half 2 ways. So it's kind of cool. I'd never made one before. Okay. So if you kind of look at the pictures in the book's actually quite good. I kind of look at the pictures. I have a tendency not to really read the directions. I like to look at the pictures. Okay. So then we're going to do the third row. This is the third row. Then of course we need to do a little pressing before we can move on. Put these together. So you'll have 4 9 patches. So this is my 4th one because I already did the other 3. Of course, I also did 3 more before that because what I did is I put the same color in the center as I did the first one. And guess what? It doesn't work because then I'd have yellow corners and yellow edges. So I had to unsew them all and sew them back together again. So I've been sewing this afternoon, all these little squares together. Okay, so here's my 3 rows. So the next thing we're going to do, you lay these up here too. Here's all my little blocks I've already cut, and we'll get these cut. I'm going to lay this up here, and we're going to press these. We need to press our seams in the opposite direction. So I don't know if this is the right way, but this is the way I've always done it. The odd rows, I press my seams to the left, and the even rows, I press them to the right. So whichever works for you, that's just the way I figured out that worked for me. Okay, so I'm just going to tip this up so you can see. I've got my iron over here. And we're going to press this one is going to be pressed to the left because it's the first one. Okay, so I've got this one like that. Then I'm going to press the second row to the right. I'm not very good at ironing with my left hand, believe it or not. I'm left-handed, but I always iron with my right hand. My mom taught me to iron with my right hand. So, okay, and then we're going to press this one to the left again because this is row 3. So it's an odd row. All right. So that way the seams are opposite of each other. So when we go to put these together now, our little seams will nest nicely together. Okay, so that's just the way that works for me. Whatever works for you, please do that. Okay, so we're going to put these right sides together, the first 2 rows, and we pressed our seams opposite of each other. And now we can nest our little seams. Now, I wanted to show you something. I got something new that I wanted to try out. Jan accidentally ordered the wrong pins. These are also magic pins, but they're flat-headed. And you know what? They're easier to grab hold of. I like them. I accidentally ordered them instead of the others. They're the same price. They're the same exact pin. They're just flat-headed. And they lay flat when you go to sew around them. Then you don't, get your foot near the little, and they're also, heat resistant and everything. So, you know what, Cindy? It is not my $10 Walmart iron. I have to tell you a funny story about my wonderful friend Judy. Judy got tired of listening to me yell about my machine, my iron. I have a terrible time with irons. I'm really hard on them because I reuse them all the time. And she ordered me this iron. This is a reliable. I had one of these that I bought somewhere else, and she ordered this for me for my birthday and Christmas. And it's a reliable velocity, and it's a vapor generator iron, and it is the bomb. I had one before that did not work well, but I bought it from a mass marketer, not from somebody who bought it right from a reliable. It's kind of like when you buy a drill, like from Menards, instead of from a tool retailer. You might get a second or something like that. And it might say the same like model and everything on it, but it's not the same. So what's a vapor generator iron? So what it does, I don't know if could you hear it when I touched it? So when I touch it, can you hear it? Can you hear the sound? See how it's generating steam? So it's kind of like it has more pressure on it. And man, I tell you what, it has good steam. It is awesome. So anyway, Judy bought this iron for me. I think she was tired of me yelling about my iron, and I still have the $10 iron. I am not getting rid of it this time because I got rid of one of them and I shouldn't have. Okay, so here's our first row, and then the second row goes like this. So we're going to flip this up like this. So I do love this iron. So you still add water? Yes. This one you have to use distilled water in this iron. But she got it from Gudrun Erla, GE Designs, who buys them directly from Reliable. So she's a reliable dealer. So it's different. I gotten mine originally from a mass marketer, and I had nothing but trouble with it. And this one is awesome. And it has a thing on it that I can bypass so that it will not turn off. That was my hugest problem with the other one, is that it turned off every 8 minutes. When you're quilting, that's really not very long. And I have well, Barb, some irons tell you not to use distilled water. It depends on the iron. You have to read the directions. This one does require distilled water, but there are some that don't like distilled water. And I have a couple of those. They like drinking water. So it depends on the iron. You got to be careful. All right, so there's the second row. Okay. Now, the one thing I'm going to do with these, so you know what? I kind of like these. Look at these nice little pins. They're flat. And you can grab a hold of them because, it's like they flatten the little thing. So they're exactly the same pin as I've been using, but they just have flat. So if anybody's interested in trying some new pins, you try one of these. I kind of like them. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, when I do these I usually press seams open. Technically you shouldn't, by a quilter's perspective, but when I'm using an embroidery machine to quilt, sometimes the extra bulk will be a problem. So I am going to open these seams up and lay them flat, just to make them a little bit flatter when I go to do the quilting. Yes, these pins are also extra fine, Pat. And I got them at the Iowa City store by accident. I meant to order the other ones, but I didn't scroll down far enough, and I got these, and I thought, well, I better try them, and they're really nice. They're exactly the same pin. It's just got a flat head on it. Okay. All right. So there is my 9 patch, like that. Okay. So you're going to make 4 of these. And then this is the fun part. So it talks about it here. And again, I put the same color in the center, and that's the ones that are going to be your borders, your cornerstones on the borders. Okay, is this one. So there's 4 of these left over. And then I'm going to take this and we're going to cut this in half. So what we're going to do, if you give me a second, I'm just going to move the camera over so you can see me cut a little bit better, so you can see what I do. And then I'll move it back. I'm sorry to have to move the cameras and stuff, but sometimes it's just easier so you can see better over here. Okay. So I'm going to take my little, this is an ironing pad. So this machine, this comes with an ironing pad also. Technically you're supposed to take this off, but I knew I wouldn't be using it much. So, okay. So I've got this is my Martelli roundabout, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to measure it to make sure that it came out about 6.5 by 6.5, I think is what they say. I'm trying to find it. I think it's 6.5 by 6.5. Yes, so 6.5 by 6.5. So half of that is going to be 3 1/4. Okay, so the way I do this is I'm going to find my 3 1/4 line on my ruler, and I'm going to lay it along the edge of my little 9 patch. And just so you know, you're going to be laying the 1 inch line on the inside seam. Okay, that'll be your 3 1/4. So since it's 6.5, we need to cut it at 3 1/4. So we're going to cut down this side. I'm going to turn this iron a little bit so I won't burn myself on it, because I will. Okay, so we're going to go this way, and then we're going to turn this. I'm going to lift this carefully, and we're going to turn it the other way. And we're going to do the same thing and cut it down the other side. You're going to do these on all 4, on all 4 of them, and you'll end up with 16 blocks then. Okay, get that? I've got it all lined up, and then we're going to cut down this one. And that's how they call it, the disappearing 9-foot patch. Where did my long arm go? My long arm is in the living room. So I moved it back to the living room. That's where it was. I like it better in there. There's more room. I can get behind it in there. So, okay, so there's my blocks. So what do you think? So we're gonna work on putting these together now. So there's 4 blocks, and then the rest of mine are over here. So here's the rest of my blocks. So we got 16 blocks. Yeah, so I put it back in the living room. I like it over there better. All right, so let me move my camera back over here. And then we're going to sew these together. So the next step is we're going to take these in whatever order you want. And my goal is to keep as many of the, yes, the Martelli roundabout sissy is on, it's in the store, and then they're also on the website, shieldsewingcenter.com. Okay, so then it says to take your 16 blocks, and we're going to make 4 rows of 4 blocks. The goal is with this is to try to keep them from being, you want them to be random, right? Sometimes trying to make them random is very difficult. So we're just going to see what we can do here. Let's see. I'm just going to, well, those 2 are the same, so we don't want those 2 together. And this is how I do. I don't have any rhyme or reason to this. I'm just going to kind of put them together. Let's see. Let's get one with the red in here. How about that? There's 4. And maybe this one can go this way. Okay, so it doesn't matter. You can put them any way you want. So I'm just going to lay them down like that. So there's 1 row. Okay, we'll put this up here. And then let's see if we can get another row. Let's see. That one's the same. So let's put this one of these other ones over here. How about this one? Here's that. Let's try this one. See, I'm going to have two reds together there, but it's going to be hard not to. So don't worry. Just kind of get them as random as you can. That looks pretty good. Or this way. No, I think I like it this way. All right. Then let's see. I'm just kind of turning them. Got a couple blues there. Let's see if we can pull out a different one. Okay. I've got greens there. So I'm trying to keep them from, having too many the same right together. But you know what? You're probably going to still end up with some the same. It's okay. I don't think I want those two red ones together, though. Let's try doing maybe a yellow one or a blue one. Maybe the blue one. That one should be okay. Okay, and then let's see. How about a red one here? Keep flipping them around. If you just keep flipping them around, sometimes they just look good. Okay, and it's going to look real random once you get it done. I had to resew one of mine last week when I was working on the one for June, and it also has this same block, which is disappearing 9 patch. And I had to play around with it a little bit because I had too many the same color together. So I just kind of like rearranged it and it looked fine. All right. Let's see. Maybe let's try one of these green ones. So I'm just kind of moving them around. Maybe like that. And let's see. How about a yellow? I like yellow. Yellow's very happy. My bedroom in Anamosa was always yellow. So it's a very happy room. All right, so then when we get these, let's see, I've got 4 more left. So I think I'm going to have to kind of stick these underneath because I'm going to lay these down underneath my machine so you won't be able to see them. So I'm just going to kind of get them organized the way I want them. I think maybe, I don't know. Don't want those twos together. Maybe like that. Looks okay. And then let's see. Like that, maybe. I'm going to have a couple blues together there, though. Unless maybe this one. So I'm just kind of, trying to get it as random as I can. Maybe like that. And then this one. Yeah, okay. So there's 4 rows. I don't know how they're going to turn out. Well, let's see how they turn out. Okay, so we're going to start sewing these together. I'm just going to put them in rows. So let me get this row so I can move them over. I'm just going to pick them up in the rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then I'll do this one down here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, kind of stuff it under the edge of my machine. Okay. They are very happy colors. I wanted springy colors, and this was all, you're going to laugh at me. I think most of this fabric came from Walmart in Anamosa for different projects that I've worked on over the years, and this was all out of my scrap bin. Okay, so this is the first and the second block. So we're just going to lay these together, and we're going to start sewing our rows together. Okay, we're going to do our 1/4 inch seam again. And we're going to make 4 rows. Come on. There we go. Oh, helps if you plugged in your, if you plug in your foot controller, did you know that it works better? Maybe. There it goes. I think I need a new foot controller. My foot controller is starting to act a little odd. Okay. Yeah, I was just looking for something real fun and springy. Okay, so there's the first 2, and let's put this one on like this. See here if we can kind of get these lined up. I'm not very good at lining up the little rows, so I'm going to grab my pin up here and put that in there so it doesn't scoot on me. So you can see this, nobody's is going to look exactly the same, and mine are not going to look the same even though they're basically the same colors. They're still not going to, whoops, I think I just unthreaded my machine. I'm not going to have the same look because I have different placement. Oh, to replace stuff. I don't buy large amounts of fabric unless I've got a particular project in mind. Somebody asked me if I buy usually 1 yard at a time, unless I know that I need a couple. Like I had to go out and buy. I haven't really bought anything for any of these projects, but I did have to go out and buy some backing because I didn't have enough backing to do 2 with the same backing on it. So I did buy backing. All right, so here's our 4th one. So is this making sense to everybody? We cut our 9 patches in half both ways, and then we just twirled the blocks around until we got them in a way we liked them. Okay, so this is the first row. So here's the first row. Okay, I'm gonna lay this up here. Then here's our second row. So here's the first block and the second block. So I'm going to try to keep them in the same order, hopefully. We'll see how I do with that. So there's going to be a couple together here, but you know what? It doesn't matter. All right, so I'm just going to put a pin there because there was a little junction there. Okay. I figured you were going to have to watch me do this part because to continue on, I wanted to show you how to trim the center because you have to trim it down. It's going to turn out. I'm going to lay this up here so I won't get it messed up. You got to trim it down to 11 inches. So I have a little trick to show you how I got that to work out. Okay, so there's the second one. Here's the third one. Hopefully, I think they were like this. Mine, they got turned, so hopefully they were like this. Well, this is just going to have to be this way. It'll just be this way. I don't think I turned them too much, so I think they were all right. Okay. That's what happens to me when I do this, that I accidentally turn them with my hand or something, and then they get off. And then I get them all put together and I'm like, oh, well, there's like 6 of the same color in the same place. And you think you're being so careful. Okay, so there's that. And then this one's going to go, well, I think we're going to turn this one. I don't know if it's going to work with the next block, but we'll just have to see. I think it will. We'll just do it that way. Because I didn't want all that. Yeah, that looks okay that way though too. That's fine that way. All right, we'll do it that way. That's the way I had it originally. So hopefully I didn't get them all messed up. I try not to get them turned, but I always turn at least one every time I do this. All right. All right, so here's row number 2. Okay, so we're going to lay this up here. Just going to try to keep them in order up here. So here's the second row, like that. And then here's the third row. So this is our first block. So hopefully I won't get these turned again this time, like this. Put these together. Drop my needle. Okay. All right. Don't forget, you have to comment in order to be entered to win the prizes. So remember to comment. All right. Now this one I'm going to have to put a pin in again. So I got my new little pins. These are nice. I like them. I wasn't sure if I'd like the flatheads, but I like them. They're a little easier to grab hold of. They're bigger. But they're the same pins. They're exactly the same pins. They're very, very sharp, and they're very, very, very thin. What foot do I have on? This is the J foot, Jan, and I'm using Q02 like I normally do when I piece. I don't like to take the J-foot off unless I have to. I do piece some with a piecing foot, and if you rather use a piecing foot, by all means do that. Then you'll probably have to have your needle in the center position. But I have a tendency to use my Q02. All right, so there is our third row. Okay, so I'm going to lay this up here behind here so I keep them in order, and then I've got my fourth row down here. So here's the first one, here's the second one. Put these together. So these are kind of fun, and they're fun because you know that no matter what you do, like the June one is going to be another one of these disappearing 9 patches. That's true. Oh, that's a good idea, Betty. Yes. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll put a pin at the top of it, so I know that's also the top. If I lay them in the rows, then I put a pin at the top of each row. That's a very good idea. Yes. When I only have a few rows, I can usually manage to keep everything okay because I'm pretty careful, but it doesn't always work out that way. I usually turn at least one thing. And I've turned like blocks that really matter, you know, like in a quilt, and I'm like, whoops, and then you got to tear it out. I do a lot of ripping. Excellent idea, Betty. Yes, I do that sometimes too. Yes, it is a very good 1/4 inch seam. If you tuck the fabric just under the edge of the foot, then you've got a nice scant 1/4 inch seam. And if you can just barely see the edge of the fabric, then it's going to be a full 1/4 inch. So it depends on what you're doing, what you need to do. But I use the scant usually because I have the fabric just tucked under my edge of my foot. And then, but all my stuff turns out very, very close in size. I'm usually within about a 1/16 of an inch. So I figured that's probably pretty close. So yes, this is a scant 1/4 inch. So with the scant, what I do is I like to lay the fabric. You can see, I just like to just pull it under the edge of the foot so it's not completely showing. And if you want a full one, just let it out a little bit so you can see the edge of the fabric. Okay, and then you can get a scant or a full 1/4 inch. Okay, so this is our fourth row. Okay, so 4 is an even number, so I'm gonna press these little seams to the right on this one. I'm gonna work backwards. So give me a second. I'm gonna put my ironing pad over here on my Martelli mat. So these are going to, and that's a really good idea, Betty. I think I'm going to do that just so I don't. So I'm going to put a pin at the top. So I know this is the top of the row. That way I don't forget where I'm at. Okay, so we're going to press these to the right because this is an even numbered row. Okay. And the other thing that's nice about these pins is these pins do not melt if you touch them with the iron by accident. So it's very nice. So like me touching that with the iron is not going to melt the pin head, which is great. Some of them melt. Yeah, this iron has great steam. So you don't want to be, ironing, you want to press. Don't be back and forthing because you're going to have your squares are going to all be out of shape. Okay, so there's that one. Let me grab another pin here. So this is the third row. I'll just put a pin towards the top here. And then this one's an even or an odd number, so we're going to press this to the left. This is just the way it works for me. I don't know what'll work for you. This has always worked for me with the pressing. Then I always remember what I do. So every person is different when it comes to pressing and what works for you. And I've always done it that way. And I don't know if it's right or wrong. It's just a way I learned to do it. So I'm kind of self-taught, so I haven't really taken a lot of quilting lessons, formal quilt. Okay, so this is row 3. So I'm going to lay that on this one. Now row 2, we're going to put it to the right because that's an even one. We're going to iron our seams to the right on this one. Okay, press those. I'm going to finger press a little bit. Yes, J foot with Q02. For those of you who are wondering about the 1/4 inch seam. It's always been my favorite 1/4 inch piecing stitch. The reason I like it, the J foot is much wider than many of the other piecing feet. And it's, I'm sorry, not wider, longer. And it goes over the bumps much better than the piecing feet do. But I do sometimes use a piecing foot. Okay, so this one's going to be an odd number. This is row number 1, so we're going to press this to the left. Get these all lined up. All right. So I might need, see if I got, I didn't do a very good job on this one. I might have to fix this one over here. Sometimes I have a little trouble getting them to lay down. There we go. Well, and like I said, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but that's the way I learned to do it, and it always works for me. Okay, so here's our first row. Okay, and here's our second row. So we're going to lay this on like this, flip it right sides together. I'm going to pull that pin out of there. And I'm going to leave the pin in the top row so that I know that's the top, just for my safety when I'm putting these together. Right, and then we're going to match up our little seams. So I'm just going to match up my little seam. I'll put a pin in there. I didn't want to put my new pins in my magnetic dish, so I have to be careful not to spill them all over the place. I wanted to try them out tonight. They're really cool. So I have some in the Iowa City store. I don't have any on the website yet, but I do have them in the Iowa City store if anybody's interested. They're kind of neat. All right. Get these on here. So this is the first 2. Now I did leave the pin right here. This is the top row. Okay, so I'm going to tip this down so you can see it. So this is the top row right here. And this is row 3 and 4. So I'll lay these over here for right now. All right. So then we know which way we're going here. All right. So we're going to sew these together. Oh, that's true. Carol says there's no quilt police that are going to come arrest you. So that is the truth. Whatever works for you. I'm a very self-taught piecer and I'm very deliberate. So when I'm teaching these classes, you know, I have learned to do this the way that works for me. It may not be the way that works for you. If there's something I do that helps you, then wonderful. I am not primarily a quilt instructor, but this has been lots of fun for me because I get to do something different too, just like you. And it's fun to have a sewing class. I love to sew. I just love to sit and sew. Okay, so there's that row. All right, so we'll take these out. Boy, I'm liking these pins. They're a lot easier to grab a hold of. Okay, so here's the first and second row. Actually, we did pretty good. There's a little bit of green in there, but you know what? It's going to be just fine. All right, so we're going to do the third row then. This one's going to go here, like this. Pull this pin out. And we'll get our little seams tucked together, nested together, and I'm just going to put a pin there so that they stay put for me. I'm not very good about keeping my seams even if I don't put a pin there. Yeah, I agree. I don't like to cut the fabric either, Barb. That's not my favorite part. I don't like to cut, but I have to, you know, I cut so many kits. So many kits. I just got done cutting all, you know, I'm working on June and July cuties right now. So I cut both the June and the July, 2 of them. And now I've got one quilted and I'm ready to do the embroidery, and then I'm going to work on the other one. So I don't know if I'll get that quilted tonight, probably not, but I am quilting. I got the July one quilted, but I haven't got the June one yet. I couldn't decide on the design. It's the one with the watermelons on it. It's very cute. But I couldn't really find a watermelon design that Kimberbell had. And then they had an ant. They put ants on it too, like little applique ants. But I don't really want ants on my table topper. So I think I'm going to do swirls. We'll do swirls. All right. All right, so we got this one. So this is the third row, and we'll get the fourth row on here. Okay, so this was the top. So we're doing pretty good. And then this one's going to go down here like this. So we're going to have a little bit of red down here, but you know what? It's going to be fine. I think it's going to look okay. So people have been asking me how I pick my fabrics for these. What I've been kind of doing just to help me is just to kind of look at the pictures in the book to see about what, you know, what they've chosen. And I pick similar colors, and they're not always the same print, of course, but I just pick similar colors. And that seems to be working for me. Helps me have an idea of where I'm going, at least, you know. So I'm not starting blind, but you can do anything you want. Okay, put a little pin in here. Let's see here what we got. This one, I must not have done very well ironing my little seam, but I think we're okay. Not a very good presser. Is it a, oh, it's Amelie Scott. Yeah, she has a watermelon one. I'm using the Kimberbell ones though, Denise, for this particular set. So they do have a watermelon one. I've seen it. Amelie Scott does. So I'm going to use a swirl. The swirl will be pretty. All right. I keep thinking they'll come out with a summery watermelon-y one. But thank you, Denise. Somebody else might want to use that. If you have the Amelie Scott set of edge-to-edge designs. She said that there's a watermelon design. Do you know what packet's in, Denise? Can you find that for us? Tell us what packet's in. What expansion pack? And the other thing that's nice about these flathead pins, look, it doesn't get close to the, it's further from the foot. They don't get in the way. So that's nice. All right. Now I'm going to open these seams up also just to keep the bulk down. How much you can have nothing done before class, Terry. You don't have to sew along with me. You can just sew it later. Okay. So there's my square. Look, I think it looks pretty good. It's random looking. So we're going to press this. I've got some extra threads in here because I had to rip these all apart earlier. So excuse my threads. I may have to do a little trimming. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to open my seams up on these, just again for bulk's sake when I'm using the embroidery machine to quilt it. Sometimes you get those bigger batches and those bigger lumps and they don't like it too well. It might catch a little bit, so I usually open these up. Okay. So I'll do a little pressing here. You can watch me press if you'd like, if I turn my camera up with my cool iron. My cool new iron. I just got it a couple weeks ago. It's pretty cool. This is not the same iron I had before. I had one that was supposed to have been the same model number, and it is not the same iron that I had before. This one's way better. And I love the fact that I can bypass the shut off. So it will not shut off. It stays on. Is an expansion pack 12. Thank you, Denise. Denise says that the watermelon design is in the expansion pack 12 if you want to use that in June. For June. We'll make it in May. Yeah, what I was surprised Kimberbell didn't have one because they have lots of watermelon-y stuff, but evidently they just never did a watermelon design. What brand of iron? This is a Reliable Velocity, and I don't remember the model number. I'll have to go look at the model number. Yes, I have them now, Barb. They came in a couple days after you were there. They came off back order. So yes, I have them. Okay, so we're gonna get these open. This is always the part that takes the longest, is you have to kind of watch, you know, I have to do this too because I can't go on if I don't press it, right? So you always have to do all this little messing around. Can you text me that or email that to me, Barb? Because I will not remember that by Tuesday. If you can email it to me, then I'll do it when I get there. I'm not going to be there till Tuesday. Tomorrow is cleaning day again, of course. I'll be at Dad's cleaning. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this over now and press it from the front. Just kind of get it nice and flat here. I think it looks pretty good. So this one looks totally different than the other one did. Got a lot of red on the one side, but you know what? It's fine. All right. So the best way to do this is just, you know, whatever it ends up, it ends up. So there we go. There is our disappearing 9 patch. So the next step, I'm going to move the camera again. We have to trim it, and it has to be 11 inches square. So it's a little bit oversized. So let me move my iron here. Make sure it doesn't tip over. We'll move the camera over again. And I'll show you how I figured out how to trim this. So I had it, you know, trimmed evenly on all 4 sides. Okay, so it needs to be 11 by 11. So we're going to trim it to 11 by 11. There we go. Put the other mat back on, if I can reach it. All right, so here's my cutting mat. So what we're going to do, I'm going to measure this and see where it's at right now. I'd like to know where it's at right now. It's about 11.5 by 11.5. Okay, so what I figured out that worked for me to trim this up so that I knew that it was even is I used my center seam right here. So the center seam here and the center seam down here. And I used that, and then I put on my center seam, if it's 11 inches, we need to have it 5.5 is half of it. So I'm going to put my 5.5 inch mark on my center seam, and I'm going to trim each side to 5.5 so that it will then end up being 11. So with any luck at all, we'll do okay here. I'm just measuring, found my center seam. We're going to trim this side off, maybe. Okay, trim that side. Then I'm going to flip it and do the same on the other side so that I don't forget where I'm at. So we're going to flip it this way and do the other side. Down the middle, I'm going to put my 5.5 inch mark on my ruler down the center seam. You're going to be cutting about a 1/4 of an inch roughly off of each side. And then I'm going to cut that off. Okay. Okay. And then we're going to do the other 2 sides. So now I'm going to flip it this way, and I'm going to use my center line again. So there's another center line there. Put my 5.5 inch mark on my center line on my ruler, and I'm going to cut this side off. A little bit off over here. See if I can get it. It went just a little bit. I got to pull back a little bit because I didn't catch that end. There we go. I can get it, I think. Just that little end. There we go. Okay. Whoops, this one didn't cut. And then I'm going to flip it over. We're going to do the other side. So you have to kind of pay attention to what side you're on so you know where you're at. So I'm going to put my 5.5 inch mark on the center. On the center line. Okay. And then we're going to cut this side off. Okay. So there's the fourth side. So now when we take our ruler, with any luck at all, it is 11 by 11. Woohoo, we did it. So there is the center panel with that disappearing 9 patch. Now, isn't that cool? I'd never made one of these before. I did this quilt or this topper. I thought that was so cool. And they do turn out really cool. And then the June one that I just did is also a disappearing 9 patch. So it's done with all reds in the center. And then the little squares here are green. So it's really cool. All right. So now we're ready to get this thing put together. We're doing good tonight. Okay, so let's get this put together now. I think it looks pretty. I like it. It's very springy. It's very springy and soft looking, isn't it? All right, so now the next step is going to be putting the borders on. So we're going to start with the belt short ones. I'm going to get my ironing pad back over here. Okay, so we're going to get our, whoops, second here. Got all these little pieces. I'm going to get my backing and my binding out of the way because we won't need that tonight. I'll set that over behind me here. And then let me find my, okay, I think these are my 11-inch ones, and I think these are the 13-inch ones. Yeah. All right, so we're going to put our borders on. So let's do these first. I think it turned out kind of cute. I like it. It's very soft. I think all of this fabric came from Walmart except the blue. I think I got that at Missouri Star, as I remember. That one was a Missouri Star fabric that I got. So we'll put a couple pins in here. I always like to line up my ends first to make sure. And look, I must have cut them about the right length. Look at there. I'm always happy if I get them the right length. Well, thank you for the compliments on the fabrics. I don't know, where did you get those? Cindy, what are you talking about? Get those what? Yes, where did you get those? What are you asking about? Yes, so this one I did too. So have you already quilted this one? I'll show you the quilting. I used kites for this one because it's got a kite on it. And Kimberbell does have one called Kites. So I owned that one, so I used that. You don't have to use that one. You can quilt these any way you want. All right, so we'll put a couple pins in here. Trying to see what Cindy was asking about. Yeah, I love polka dots. I have a lot of fabric with polka dots on it. All right, so we're going to sew these two together. To our 1/4-inch seam. Second, I've got a piece of green sticking out. Ouch. Boy, I tell you, those pins are sharp, guys. Just caught my finger again. Wow. They are sharp. I love sharp pins, though. Man, I tell you, if you use some other pins after using these, it's like trying to stick a log through your whatever you're trying to pin. These are so thin and so sharp. Notes that Terry was talking about. I didn't see what Terry was talking about. Did I answer, Terry? All right, so we're going to sew this one on. But I'd never done a disappearing 9 patch. I thought, well, hey, this is a really fun block. And the next one's really cool, too. You keep talking about green fabric, but I don't see any green. Oh, there was green fabric in the watermelon, but not in this one. This one's more teal. This one has more teal in it. There's no green really in this one. All right, so I'm going to press these out. I'm going to press my my borders out, and we'll put the other two on. Give me a second here. Yeah, the watermelon one that I just finished the other day had green in it. This one has more teal. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think Terry had we had scanned a book because I like to write in mine, and that's the way mine is too. So right here, my book is a scan because I don't like to write in my good books because you can see I make lots of notes, and I hate to mess up all my good books. So I always scan them, and then I print my own copy. So I have a copy of it. Just because I make them, I write so many notes in the book. I just don't, and it's hard to write on that shiny paper. So I like to make a copy of it myself. And this was not like a digital download. This was just a book. So I had to scan it just for myself. I use it for me so I can write in the books. So I just took my book and scanned it. Oh yeah, this iron is, like I said, I bought one a year and a half or 2 years ago, and I just did not like it. And it just never worked right. I couldn't bypass it to keep it on. And Judy kept always saying, oh, I just love my iron. I just love my iron. But she bought hers from an actual reliable dealer. And she bought it from, and if you're going to buy one, go buy it from a real dealer. Don't get it from someplace else. She bought it from GE Designs, and it's Gudrun Erla. She's in Minnesota. Really, really cool. So if you like quilting and really cool patterns, she is awesome. So if you want to buy one of these, go buy it from her. They're not a cheap iron. But I bought it from, like a mass marketer, and it was not the same iron. I never liked it. One of my other friends got one, and hers never really worked right, ever. She sent it back, I think, 3 times, and it never really worked. And Judy loves her iron, and she always says, Jan, I just love my iron. And so she bought me one from Gudrun. And I have to say she's right, because it works great. It is very heavy. Very, very heavy. So if you have problems with your hands or anything, it is a very heavy iron. So what I do is I'm just careful how I pick it up because it's very heavy. But it is the best steam iron I have ever had, other than my Euro Steam. My Evolution irons, I love those. They have more pressure than this one does, but this one has really good steam. All right, so we're going to put our other longer ones on now. Irons are a big thing. You got to have a good iron, and I've tried everything. Got my 9 patch. Oh, cool. Terry's working on her 9 patches. Then you cut them in half, Terry. Cut them in half horizontally and vertically. Then you're ready to put the other ones together and make your little center. They are pretty cool. These were the funnest. These have been really fun for me because I don't get to piece much, and I really like piecing actually. And I just don't really have a reason to most of the time, and this has been really fun because I get to sit and sew. I hope the way I do this makes sense to people, because I'm a very fledgling quilting teacher. I do know how to sew. I mean, I'm a good sewer. I've been sewing for years and years and years, so. All right, so there are my second set of borders. Oh, I like these pins, guys. These are nice. I may have to put these on my, I think I may have to put these on my with my other ones. I like these. Because I brought home a pack of them from the store because I thought, well, I better try them to make sure they're okay, because I bought them by accident and I like them. Okay, so I'll go ahead and press this now. You get this one pressed out, and then we're ready for the corners. Yeah, can you hear that thing steam? You hang on to it. So this is cool. When you hang on to the handle, it makes it steam. So it's got like a generator in there that pushes the steam out. And so when you let go of the handle, it stops. So it is cool. I'll get the book over here because it has the actual number, but I think this is the only one that Gudrun carries on her website. All right. So there is the center with the borders on it. So how are we doing so far? I think those look pretty good. Oh, you like those too, Marianne? I do too. I like good pins. I have used very bad pins for a long time, and I love good pins. So, okay. So now we're ready for the corners. So let me get my corners. Where'd they go here? Here they are. All right. So I got them. Of course, this was the 14-inch square with the, does it have auto shut off? Yes, it does. But if you don't want it on, you can bypass it. So I have mine bypassed so I can turn it off. You just push the little red button down here and hold it in for 5 seconds and it'll turn it off if you don't want it to turn off. But otherwise, yes, it has auto shut off. So whatever works for you. I do not like auto shut off very well because the second I need the iron, then I need the iron instead of waiting, for it to heat up. All right, so I'm going to take my corners here. I'm going to fold them in half, find the center. Put a pin there so I know where I'm at. And remember, I got shape flex on the back, so don't forget to put the shape flex on the back of your 14-inch square before you cut it, because you need that for the embroidery later. Get this on here. This was just a fat quarter I think I got at Walmart. They have a lot of nice fat quarters there, and they have like white on whites, tone on tones. So the auto shut off on this iron is 8 minutes, which is a little too short for me, but then I can bypass it. So I've got it bypassed so it stays on. And then I can take it off bypass later. So I have taught because that's where I came from, was making garments. And so yes, the hardest thing about making garments is to find patterns that everybody can fit into. Patterns don't always come with large amount of sizes. So what I've been doing with garment sewing is I do things that are kind of like unisex type things. So my favorite thing in the world to make is pajama pants. I love it. Those are my favorite things. In fact, I need to make myself a new pair. So we can make pajama pants. Robes, bathrobes are great to make. They're fun to make. So we can make bathrobes. So I might do that. If you guys want to do some clothes, maybe we'll do some, but it'll probably be a little bit more on the general kind of unisex side because of the sizes of the patterns. It's just hard to find patterns. Like if you want to make a skirt, to find, like one person wears a size 2 and another person wears a 22, and it's very hard to find the same pattern with that many sizes. So, okay, so I matched up my centers, and I'm going to go ahead and put my corners on here. Let's get this one on. Tunic, like a top? Yeah, like tops might be easier. The other thing I love to make is sweatshirts. I have a really good sweatshirt pattern. It's really fun to do. And I like to make coats. I actually like making outer, like coats, jean jackets, stuff like that. So I'll think about that. Maybe we'll do that sometime because I like to sew. But it's always been hard to do, clothing classes. Okay, so then we're going to sew these together. Got my 1/4-inch seam, got my pins in. I matched my centers of my triangles. Okay, we're going to line these up. Never made a coat. I love making coats. I've made tons of coats. My favorite coats are making jean jackets. And I've done only one with flat felled seams, with the flat felled seams, but I usually make them, I like to make lined coats. And I made a lot of suit jackets because, I was a band director in a former life, and being a female band director, it's very hard to find the right kind of suits and stuff and like formal wear to wear for band concerts. So I did make a lot of clothes. All right, so we got one side. Let's flip it over and do the other side here. I do love that little pop of black in there. Black always pops everything. But no, I'll keep the $10 iron because, just in case. I haven't had too good a luck with iron, so I want to give it more in a couple weeks. I'm hoping this one lasts me longer because I've had so many irons and they're expensive. I've always had an Oliso for years, and the last two I've had, the one didn't work and I had to send it back in a month, and the other one stopped working in about 6 months. And well, it still works, but it just spit on everything. I mean, it constantly was spitting water on everything, and then it would leave brown marks on all my stuff. All right, so we got that side done. Okay, take these out. Yeah, they give you a nice little box for the pins too. Did you see the nice little box? Oops, second here. Sorry, I forgot to turn the camera down. You guys are supposed to be watching me. So I got my corners lined up in the center. Sorry about that. I didn't get my camera pulled down. So we'll do the other two. You'll know what I'm doing. And now I'm going to press these outward like this. Actually, I'm going to press these in towards the border because they lay flatter that way. You get that. I think this iron's like 1700 watts. It's hot. Sure beats my little 1200 watt Walmart iron. That one didn't get very hot. But I'm going to keep it because it's a good little one to carry around. It's smaller. All right. So I went ahead and pressed those like that, and I pressed them inward towards the other side, okay, towards the center. All right, so now we're going to put the other two on here, and I'm going to fold these in half. And I like to take my little scissors and just clip these little dog ears off just to get them out of my way. I'm just going to take my scissors and clip these off so it's easier to get it straight. Fold it in half so we can find our centers. Put a pin there. I like this. This is turning out good. All right, do this side too. Whoops. Got to turn. Let me get my little, clip my little dog ears here. The other thing I like to make, believe it or not, is curtains. I've made quite a few curtains in my house here. I need to make a couple more sets. I need some in my living room. I don't like my living room curtains. All right, so I'm going to put a pin in the center of this side, and then we'll do the corners. Yeah, Barb, if you got an iron a long time ago, they're different than the new ones, let me tell you. They don't last. The new stuff doesn't last like that old stuff did. All right, so we're going to line up our centers here to the corner and go down this way. Looks pretty good. See how our time's doing. We're doing pretty good tonight. Okay, we can turn this over. Do the other side. Whoops. Turn this over and do this side. Line up my pins. There we go. Yeah, these are nice pins. They feel exactly the same. You know, when you're putting them in, they feel the same as the other ones, but they're just got a flat head on them. These are 100, Pat. I usually order 100 boxes, just because I go through a lot of pins. I order them for the store too. They're the same price as the other ones. So, all right. So now we're going to do these. We're going to stitch these on with our 1/4 inch seam. Make sure I get this closer here. I'm going to go ahead and tie this off a little bit. Yeah, these are, whoops, stuck in here. I think I just unthreaded myself. I have a little trouble with cotton thread liking to unthread. It gets a little curly, especially with the humidity. And, you know, I've had my iron close to it tonight. So, all right, let's tie this off. Can you iron over the pins? Yeah. So these have the heads don't melt. So if you iron over the pins, you won't melt the heads. And it's the same way with the other magic pins. They have heat resistant heads on them, which is great. And then these are nice because they're not glass, so they are a little easier to grab a hold of than some of the glass headed pins. You know, they're kind of slippery, and these are really really easy to hang on to because they got the little grippers on them. So I like them. I've been using these for quite a long time, but like I said, I just accidentally ordered the wrong ones. Thought we'd better try them out. So I decided I'd piece with them today and see how they go. And I have to say they've been doing quite well. All right, flip this over and do the other side. So I'm about ready to run out of bobbin thread. Let's see if I can make it through this seam. Not sure. I've got some more thread up here, so we should be okay. My bobbin sensor must have fluff over it. I need to take my machine in for service. My machine's pretty dirty right now. I've been doing a lot of batting and stuff lately. A lot of quilting, a lot of cotton thread. All right, whoops. Go back in here, and then we're going to tie up on the other end. So then we got this one done. I think I'm going to back up a couple stitches. Ooh, I think I might have won the thread chicken. I think there's just a little teeny bit in there. Nope, I didn't. Look, I have to go back and sew. See, my bobbin sensor's not working. I thought I had it cleaned out better, but it's still not. So I've got another bobbin up here that's partially full. We should be okay. So we'll go back and we'll sew over it again. So what happens if your bobbin sensor doesn't work, just so you know, you might have a bunch of fluff down underneath your hook. There's like 2 little lights that come together and oh, bobbin chicken, haven't you ever heard that, Cindy? It's when you think you're going to make it to the end without running out of bobbin thread or sewing thread. So, but with the bobbin sensor has fluff over it, there's 2 little lights that come together and make the machine stop for the bobbin sensor. If you have fluff in there, then it's covering it up, and then it won't stop. So that means it needs to be cleaned, and you can get some of it yourself, but usually it's down in there deep enough. I have to have Ron tear it all apart. Okay, so there's those. So I'm going to press these. I'm going to press these inward also towards the inside, towards the center of the topper, I should say. All right. Woo, boy, that's hot. I think I need to turn it down a notch. I have hot flashes when I have too much steam from my iron, so I'm getting hot over here. All right, there's that. Okay, so now this is where I'm going to have to take this over to my cutting table, because now this needs to measure, be squared up so that it measures 18 by 18. Okay, So I'm going to run over. I'm going to have to take this to my table to do this because my mat's not big enough. And it needs to be 18 by 18. So then what I'm doing, and I'm going to tell you what I'm doing to do this. I like to lay it against a grid on my mat. So to keep it all straight, and then I take my ruler. So I thought I could show you this. I like to take my ruler and I lay my 1/4 inch mark on my ruler right on the tip of my corner here because we don't want to cut those pretty tips off. Okay, so I'm going to lay that on there. But if I lay it down on a grid on my mat, then I know that it's straight on the sides. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to take this over there and I'll do this real quick so we can put the borders on. So you'll have to give me just a moment. So if you have any questions, just type your questions and I'll answer them when I get back over here. I think I'm going to have to press it over here on the bigger mat just a second too. It's hard to press on this little mat, so. Okay, let me get my ruler and I'll get it squared up. This is about the hardest thing. Now mine's pretty close to 18 actually, but you need to have your 1/4 inch. So I'm laying what she asked. You need, oh, an 18-inch square ruler. Yes, I just don't have any big rulers like that, so I've always done it this way. Hopefully that's not messing people up too much. So I'm laying it on the grid and on the bottom, and then I'm going to lay my ruler 1/4 inch mark on my tip because I want to keep that tip. And I do the top and then I flip it over and do the other side so I don't forget where I'm at. Otherwise I forget where I'm at. Yeah, I think an 18-inch ruler would be really great. I've never had one though. I have one great big one, but it's too big. All right, here's my 1/4 inch. I'm concentrating. Okay, so now I'm doing the third side. Getting it all lined up on a grid here. I'm doing the fourth side. So hopefully it's pretty good. It looks pretty good. Now mine have never yet been exactly 18 inches, just so you know. They're always just a smidgen big. Otherwise I'm going to lose my points on my, I'm going to lose my points if I cut it exactly at 18. Okay. So mine actually is, let me measure it here for you. It is 18 and almost a 1/4, just between an 1/8 and a 1/4. But I don't want to clip any. Yep, bigger's better than smaller. And so what I do is you want to make sure that you've got your 1/4 inch seam right here on this tip so that you don't cut off your corners. Okay, so that's the important part. So I barely cut. Nope, yours isn't either. Yours is always a little big too, buddy. You're much better at this than I am. So if yours are a little bit big, that's good. Then I must be doing okay. Okay, now the other thing I wanted to tell you, just so you know, I'm running into a couple problems with the July cutie. Well, I'm getting my borders here. I ran into a couple problems with the July one in that my borders, it's a smaller one, it's a little smaller, but there was no way I could square it up. So I think there's a misprint in it, and I could not get my borders to fit. So if you're moving on with some of the other ones, don't cut out the borders for your July one until I test it one more time, because I don't think they're right, because they're too short. I got mine to work. I had to use an 1/8 inch seam, but it worked. Okay, so now we're ready for borders. I sewed my borders end to end. Okay, so I have a green one and a yellow one all the way around. And I'm going to take the seam and I'm going to put it on my point. So I'm just going to kind of roll it back so I get my point lined up with my seam, with my little point. Okay. So yeah, so if some of you are moving ahead, be aware. I think it needs to be about a quarter, the borders need to be about a 1/4 of an inch. I think they say to cut them 8.5. It is smaller, but I could not possibly square my center up as small as they said, because you would have cut all the corners off. And I haven't had any trouble with the other ones. It was just that one. So I think there was a misprint. I think it needs to be squared up to like 17.5 instead of 16.5, or it needs to be 17 instead of 16.5. I don't know. It's off. Okay, then I'm going to. So I'll talk about it more. But if you're moving ahead and cutting some other ones, don't cut the borders on your July one. Okay. So I want the yellow and the green, or the yellow and the teal, to be opposite of each other. So we're going to turn this one this way from each side. Okay. So this one is going to be this way. Going to line up my little point here. And then see, I haven't had any trouble with any of these. And then see, they fit too. So, I mean, I can't be that far off. So anyway, the July was a little weird. It is a smaller one because the blocks are smaller in the center. So, but I think there's a misprint. And I went back to look to see if they had fixed anything, but I still didn't find it. So now I notice I have a little notch in this one. I was using scraps, so hopefully I can catch that in the seam. There's a little notch in my, can you see it? In my border right here. So hopefully I can catch that in the seam. All right, so we're going to put these on. We're almost done. These are so pretty. These are really turning out fun. I'm enjoying them. Yeah, see, I've been trying to work ahead. I'm trying to get all of mine done before the summer. I'm trying to have all of them done so that I'm doing June and July right now. And then I'm hoping to do August and September maybe next month, because I'd like to have them all done, just because then I know far enough advanced in order to tell you about stuff. I'm still using a scant 1/4 inch. I don't want to take my corners off. Hopefully I did okay with the corners. We'll see here in a minute. Pull that pin out of there. All right. So I'm going to tie these off too. I like to tie my borders off so that they don't come off. Okay. All right, so there's that one. I'm going to take these out so I don't stab myself. And I turn it around. Okay, so let's do this one. Okay. So remember, we're kind of doing these backwards because, you know, we're going to quilt these after we sew them together, and you're technically supposed to be doing the embroidery right now and not putting the borders on. So ours are just going to be, we're just kind of doing them backwards, but you know what? I kind of like them that way. They seem to be working out well. So the next step, of course, will be the quilting. And I made the quilting, just one quilting video. So go watch the video either on the Facebook page or on YouTube on Sew Along with Jan. You can go back and watch it again if you need help with the quilting. Some of you may be getting along good with your clear blue tiles or doing some other kind of quilting. So, but I've been enjoying the clear blue tiles. At first I wasn't sure about them, but I kind of like them. And this one I did do kites. I'll get it out here so you can see the kites on it. It's just called kites. Okay. All right, so there is that. So let's see if we hopefully we kept our points. See how we did here. I got to press these open. See how I did on my, ooh, that one looks pretty good. So let's see how we did on this one. Did pretty well. Think I'm doing okay. So I must have trimmed it pretty well. All right, so let me just press these open. Yeah. Yes, we're going to quilt before we embroider, Terry, because you're going to quilt through, you're going to embroider through it. Because these were supposed to be quilted first or embroidered first and then like free motion quilted, and Jan doesn't do that. So I figured out a different way to quilt them so that I didn't have to free motion, because I'm not a free motioner. Okay, so I am pressing these out. So the seams are pressed out towards the border on these. So they lay pretty flat. All right. Then, of course, the last two borders have our little peach squares on them. Okay. And so what I did with those, I sewed those together just like I did the other ones. And then I pressed the seams of the squares in towards the border. Okay. So, and I also want to do the same thing. We don't want the yellow ones together. So we're going to flip them. So like this one is going to be this way. So I want the yellow over here. Okay. We're going to line up our little point here. So we can get our points lined up. And then we can nest our little seams on the border in the little corner block. So yes, so go watch the quilting video, Terry, and then we will do the embroidery next week, but you need to quilt it, and then next week we'll do the embroidery. And if you don't have the clear blue tiles, you can quilt it some other way, whatever works for you. You can put it on your long arm if you want to. You've got a long arm. A lot of people, if you have a long arm, put it on your long arm. If you like to free motion, if you like to stitch in the ditch, you don't have to use the clear blue tiles, whatever works for you. But I wanted to teach these with the clear blue tiles so that people had a chance to really see them used, and then we'd be using them, for the year. And I just thought it was a good thing to do that with, because this is a Kimberbell project. All right, so I'm going to flip this over and we're going to do the other side. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I want to make sure that my teal and my yellows are opposite of each other. So I'm going to flip that one that way. This one's going to be pretty too. This one I didn't have enough of this cute fabric with the little flowers on it, this little peachy fabric, to do two of them. I only had enough to do one. So the first one was done. Oh, the clear blue tiles are the quilting tiles that Kimberbell has now, Terry. They're very handy. You have a long arm, so you could just put it on your long arm if you wanted, but clear blue tiles are really kind of fun. They work well. And you can do something small like this in your embroidery machine. Like this one, I think I hooped it 6 times to do it in the embroidery machine. So these, I'm using about an 8x12 tile, and they fit in a 9.5x14 hoop. And then you hoop it about 6 times. And it doesn't take very long to quilt it. I quilted one this afternoon. I quilted the July one this afternoon. And the clear blue tiles are up on the website. So if you want to go look at them, you can go read a little bit more about them on the website too, on our website. So, all right. So now we're going to get these on here and we'll be done. So what'd you think of the disappearing 9 patch? So you're wondering about choosing the border colors? How do I, well, Cindy, really, you know what I do for the colors? Honestly, I've been just kind of looking at my book and getting an idea of colors that they used. And then I just go through my stash and find stuff that's close. You know, it doesn't have to be exact, and you can use any colors you want. It just gives me help when I'm trying to make my kits. So I just kind of look at the pictures in the book and kind of get an idea if I like them. So you did a combination of Design Center. That's good. Yeah, Design Center too. So like if you have one of the bigger sewing machines, you have Design Center IQ Designer, and you can quilt that way as well. So whatever works for you. You do your quilting. If you're you know, if you've done some quilting and stuff and you're comfortable with quilting, do whatever works for you. I've been enjoying the clear blue tiles though. I've been getting used to them, and at first I really resisted them, but I am really liking them. So, all right, so I'm going to tie that off. Isn't that fun? Yeah, I've never made one before. I like it. I like the disappearing 9 patch. So it makes it's a very interesting block. So let's see how I did on this one. I always look at my points. Woo, I did pretty good. Didn't cut it off. That's the goal, right? All right, so we'll flip this over and we'll do the other side, and we're almost done. And then we get to have a drawing. Is everybody excited about winning the little pillow cover? So who's going to win tonight, do you think? How long did it take me to cut out my fabric pieces? You know what takes me longer, Sissy, is actually figuring out what fabrics I want to use. So I have to sit there and look at all these color combinations. The cutting doesn't take long. It's the figuring out what I'm going to use that takes a while. And I try, like I said, I'm trying to use what I have at home, so I have to kind of mix and match. So I'm trying not to buy any fabric, but I've had to buy some backings just because I have to make 2, you know, so I don't always have enough backing to do both toppers. I think next month I had enough to do the backing, but for 2 of them. But this one I know I had to go out and buy a yard of fabric. So, oh, I know the 9 patch, yes. So Jackie, the best thing is just to kind of get it as best you can and then go with it. I did have to rip my June one out because I had so much of this one color all in a line, like it was like a straight line. It was very visually obvious. So I had to do a little bit with that. But yeah, just quilt it like you normally would on your long arm, you know, Terry. Just without and then we'll do the embroidery through all the layers. Okay. All right. So let me do a little press here, and I'll show you the finished product. I think it looks pretty good. And I didn't even cut the corners off. I did okay. I kind of like the size of these. They're a nice size. Yep, so just quilt it like any other table topper or quilt you do, Terry, but just then we'll do the embroidery later. All right, get this one, and there we go. I think I need to do a little bit more pressing, but here is our table topper. So what do you think? And then this is the one we're going to put the little kites in the center. And let me show you my finished one here. I kind of like the peach in the corners. I didn't have enough of this to do both of them, so I had 2 peaches. This peach is not as pretty, but it was still pretty. So this one, I did I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? I did the kites for the quilting, so it's little kites. It's a Kimberbell one that you can buy. It's not in the clear blue tiles. It was one I bought, and it's just called kites. So kind of like it. And then we're going to have a little, you know, make sure you find some ribbon that you like, and we're going to put some little ribbon tails on our kites. but we're going to do the embroidery on the corners next week. So what do you think? I like this one too. The colors are the same, but then I had to replace the peach. So this one's a little different. And then the borders are different. You know, I was trying to use up scraps, so I didn't have enough of everything. So I think it looks nice though. What do you think? So I'll get that quilted this week. I'll probably still use the kites. I like that one for this one. And then we will do the embroidery next week. All right, so let me turn the camera up. We'll have our drawing. So for those of you who came in late, the way you get entered into the drawing is to make a comment. Second, I got to find the right camera. Is to make a comment. And so each week on So Long with Jan, I have so many samples and they're nice, but and I hate to just get rid of them, but I figured maybe people would like them and I was just going to distribute them out. Okay. So I have tons and tons of more of them, believe me. So anyway, we are going to, oh yeah, Jan, are you going to come get your prize? Jan won the prize last week. Okay, so the way I do this is I take my tablet and I can go through all of these comments that have been going on, okay? And I will ship to people that are outside of, you know, my area. If you win, you need to make sure you email me or personal message me your address, name, address, and everything so I can mail the little thing to you. And remember, it's going to be where to go. Here it is. This week is going to be the pillow cover. Okay, welcome pillow cover. And I thought this one was fun. I love all the polka dots, and see the back is polka dots too. All right. So that is the prize tonight. This was a project we did. Oh, I think one of the very first year on So Long with Jan, we did this. This was a freebie on Kimberbell, but I don't think it's free anymore. I don't think they have it on there anymore. So this was a free design on Kimberbell. All right, so I have to go back and forth here, and I'm not going to look. I'm just going to put my finger down on, make sure I got everybody's comments opened up here. Okay, I'm just not going to look though. I'm going to put my finger down on somebody's name. Okay, you ready? All right, I put my finger down on somebody's name, and it's Cindy West. Cindy is from Nashville. So Cindy, you won the pillow cover tonight. So Cindy, make sure you either email me or personal message me your address and I'll mail this to you. Okay. So Cindy West is the winner of the pillow cover, and it's 12 by 16. So you should easily be able to find a little pillow form for it. I get them at Hobby Lobby, or you could just make one too, but it's 12 by 16. So Cindy West got the little welcome pillow cover. Awesome. So Cindy, send me your address and I'll get it sent to you. Okay. So thank you so much. Next week, we'll do the embroidery on this. I got to get it quilted. And then we'll do the embroidery on the corners. Hopefully I remembered not to stick my little template to the wrong side of my stuff. And so hopefully I can get it off. And then the following week, we're going to do a little paper crafting. So I thought this was fun. We're going to make these little cutting stations. They're a little cutting station and ironing station. And I thought, and it's nice because it's all connected together. You can put your little rotary cutter out here and then you can carry it along with you. You can stick it in your bag, take it with you. So I thought that'd be fun, just something different to do. And then the last week in February, we'll make, this is a software class. So if you don't have the software, this is available for you to stitch out. So this is what we'll do the last week of February. This is the Irish Blessing. So we'll do this that week and learn how to do it in the software. And then if you just want to sew it, the designs are already up on the Dropbox. So they're already there, but they're in the software Dropbox under Irish Blessing. Okay. All righty. So thank you so much, everybody. Cindy, send me your information. I'll get you your prize. I hope my Dollar Tree has the mats. I have had quite a few here. Most of the ones that I've been in around this area, if you're calling from this area, I'm not sure who said that.
most of them have had them. So hopefully you should have it. So, all right. Okay. Well, enjoy making your March Cutie, and we'll see you next week to do the embroidery. So thanks everybody. Have a good night.